welcome to this interactive webinar by Fetola, speaking about social impact investing into the circular economy in small businesses. And the webinar is designed especially to show you how it's possible to build profitable circular economy businesses. So welcome. But first of all, let's speak about what is the circular economy. And so we found that there are a lot of people in the room who may be not very clear about this. And I like things to be really simple. So in a simple way, it's easy to explain the circular economy in this manner. So traditional production is you mine something, or you cut some trees down, or you get something, raw materials, and you make it into a product. You use the product, and when it's finished, you send it to the dump. And if I can just give the analogy of maybe a pushchair. So I would go and I'll make a pushchair, get all the components, make the pushchair, I drive my baby around it until my baby gets too big, and then I send it to the dump. Recycling is when we do the same. We might make the pushchair, we might use it a bit, and then when it breaks, we send it to the dump. Somebody else takes it up and uses the components. Maybe they use the wheels in order to make a go-kart, or maybe they use the metal in order to make something else. And that's the recycling economy. We take something at the end of its life and we recycle it into something else. Now, what circular economy is, it's different. And fundamentally, it's about nothing goes to the dump. Nothing ever goes to the dump. And so everything is kept in motion constantly. And so the key points are, first of all, it's quite a new concept in South Africa. Secondly, the first thing you need to know about circular economy, it's about designing out waste. And for me as an entrepreneur, that's really exciting, because if you're a business, anything that says design out waste, reduce your cost of production is always music to an entrepreneur's ears. And so the design out waste is your primary principle. And that's something that makes it very, very easy to understand. And then maybe the last 2 points, very few businesses are actually fully circular. Most people are going towards it. And then lastly, it really is good for the profit, for people and the planet. And we're going to show you exactly how. So very quickly before we move on, Fetola has got more than a 10-year history of working in sustainability. We've previously had 7 sustainability accelerators and initiatives and programs. So it's really close to our DNA. We really believe in it. It's part of what we are. We believe it's part of the future. And we're really embedded and excited to be known as the sustainability business. So then before we get into the actual Circular Economy Accelerator, let's just remind ourselves the context in which we work. So in South Africa, of course, we have a lot of pollution. So many of you know that. You guys up in Joburg, you know that a lot. Come winter, there's going to be terrible air pollution. Your rivers are polluted. We understand there's lots of pollution. There's lots of problems with excess waste. Again, in Pretoria, I know they've got big problems now. All of the dumps are full, and people having to travel far distances to dispose of their household waste. We also have a real situation in South Africa where the economy is really struggling. This year, we're looking at no more than a 1% growth in the economy. And that makes it really difficult to stimulate businesses. It makes it difficult to create enough work and enough opportunities for people. The other thing that we know in South Africa is we have this huge problem with unemployment, and that seems to be really a sticky problem. And then, of course, we have inequality. So we know this. We all know this. This is the context in which we're working. And so it's really understanding that, knowing that context, we say, okay, what does that mean for each individual in the room? So for entrepreneurs, we know that entrepreneurs struggle typically with 4 things. The first thing is they very often struggle to thrive financially. And this is especially for sustainable businesses or sustainability businesses. But for all small businesses, it's something people often say, that when the economy is slow, it's difficult to create a business that's profitable. The second thing that entrepreneurs always speak about is that they struggle to access markets. And this is especially the case for many businesses trying to sell sustainable products, because there's the perception that if it's good for the planet, it's expensive, or if it's sustainable, it's expensive. And so there's this kind of mental barrier to believing that sustainable products are too expensive. The third is that all small businesses struggle to access finance. And what we have found in our previous work in sustainability is this is often especially difficult for businesses that are green businesses because investors see that as extra risky. And then the last thing that sustainable businesses struggle with is impact measurement, because it's often difficult and complex for a business to measure their impact, to be able to record it and to showcase it. So these are the 4 challenges that we know that small businesses in the sustainable sector struggle with. And we also know that impact investors also have struggles. And generally in South Africa, impact investors, there are many billions of rand actually that are waiting to be invested into small businesses, excuse me. So there's not enough suitable pipeline, because even though there are these many millions of rand that want to be invested into small businesses, there's not enough awareness of where these businesses sit in order for them to be able to access the money. And then secondly, there's a big gap between what the bankers want or what the investors want and what the small business is ready to be able to tell. So there's a big gap between what's needed by the investor and the story and readiness that the small business can show in order to get funding. And that's definitely something that we see. And then the third thing that impact investors really struggle with is impact measurement. So again, and we're going to speak more about this, I hope I haven't confused you, but we're going to speak more about why this is important as we get into the deck. But maybe just remember those things as challenges. Certainly from the first one that we came up with is this circular economy program. And so I'm going to have really delighted to introduce you to Isabel. So Isabel du Toit is the sustainability lead for all of our sustainable programs and heads up the Circular Economy Accelerator in its whole suite of offerings. So welcome to you, Isabel.
Hi, Kathy. Yeah, really excited to be here and to share some of the results from our findings on the Circular Economy Accelerator, and even more excited actually to share the report after that, which you mentioned earlier.
So yes, I keep forgetting about that. We're just trying to give a little snippet here, but there is a full report coming in the future shortly. Okay, so let's speak about it. What exactly is the Accelerator? Just give us a quick overview as to where does it sit here.
Great. So when we were looking at the circular economy, we obviously figured out through just all the research and stuff done that it was a viable solution for small businesses. So how do we bring that to small businesses? We created this 3-phase solution. So Business Boost, which was the first phase, was a 6-month program focused on 50 SMEs that had really struggled through COVID. Phase 2, which is the one we'll be reporting on today, was an 18-month accelerator where we took on an additional 46 different businesses and put them through this kind of acceleration program with that golden thread of circular economy. And then the final phase, which we're also going to be launching soon, is Flulo, and that'll be to bridge the gap between technology innovation, finance and market, and the green SMEs that really need it. So that's our solution that we proposed.
So that's great. Thanks, Isabel. Yeah, and so what did the cohort look like?
So obviously, just bearing in mind the context of South Africa, we really went in with the idea that we had to have a very widespread range of businesses from all 9 provinces. So you can see we had a really big spread, and it was actually interesting looking at your poll and going, some of these numbers actually match, you know, like 2% from Northern Cape, etc. And so it was a good representation of South Africa and the SMEs that exist there. And then, of course, we focused on youth-led and female-led enterprises because they previously are just not included in things, and there's a high youth unemployment rate. And then 11 industries were covered over the course of the program. And we did this specifically to ensure that we could prove the circular economy model across industries. And so some of the industry examples would be manufacturing and agriculture, which were really big industries and are big industries in South Africa. But we also had healthcare, we had education, we had textiles. So a great range of industries within this cohort.
That's fantastic. Thank you. And then so really this model just shows us that in Fetola we have this we have a very well developed model which we apply through all of our accelerators. It's kind of the foundation of all of the work that we do. And so really applying the standard model, attending to these important components that are needed in order to build a business. And in this case, overlaying that is then the circular economy. Do you want to just quickly take us through the interventions, maybe just very light touch on the actual interventions that went into the program?
Yes, so as Kathy mentioned, we use the Fetola growth model as our base for all our accelerators, and then really just plugged in these 7 core focus areas, including that model. But circular economy was the add-on to that and really became the golden thread that we wove through every single one of these aspects, just making sure that everyone understood. For example, in investment readiness, I need to actually talk about the impact that I make in the circular economy in order to access that kind of investment. And so these are the things that we implemented over the 18-month transformation journey.
Awesome. And so I think let's get into the results, because that's what's really exciting, right? Yeah, so let's just talk about, first of all, sustainability results, because that's what makes this program, this accelerator, different. Yeah, so just take us quickly through this. What does this graph mean? Explain it to me. I'm not a great graph understander, so can you explain it to me, Isabel?
Yeah, it looks a little overwhelming, so I will be as simple as possible, guys. But the orange block is essentially the models that were in use at the start, the circular economy models in use at the start, and the blue bar is the circular economy models used at the end of the program. And so you can see the percentages is the percentage uptake in that model in each of these various different model types. And so there were models that were taken up most, which now are highlighted in red. And it actually surprised us initially because we felt that waste as a resource would be one of those things that was taken up most, but it makes perfect sense because these things can be implemented in both service and product-based businesses. And so the uptake is far higher.
Okay, so before you get too technical,
yes, sorry.
So the thing with circular economy, guys, is that there are a lot of specialists, there are a lot of models, people get very excited about it. There's all sorts of models and different ways to cut and dice it. But let's just keep it simple. I'm going to just ask Isabel to go through, what does it actually mean? What does it mean? What is a circular economy model? And she's just going to take us through a couple of examples to bring it to life.
Yeah. Okay. So we specifically selected these ones to go through because they were the most taken up models within the program period. Product life extension is a great one. You can see great examples like Patagonia, where you originally design your product to last. I mean, think about like your granny's shirts. I'm wearing a granny shirt today that's 70 years old. It's originally created to last for as long as possible. And so designed with a high quality in mind. And then also certain other design elements come into play, like Patagonia offers repair on their product, which means even though it's designed to last, it's also designed to be repaired. And that extends the lifespan. Sharing platforms, this one was taken up a lot by the service industry businesses. And so Workshop 17 is a great example of this. It's where you share your space. It can be a virtual space or it can be a physical space, but you share your space with others. And Fetola actually does this. So we have some boardrooms within our office that are not in use most of the week, and we rent those out to other businesses to make use of it. So it's making sure that the resource goes as far as possible. Rental models, we all know some examples like Hire It or that classic wedding dress rental service. These are products that could be sold once off and kept in a cupboard forever, like a drill bit that I once bought and I've never used again since I put up one picture. Or it could actually be rented out and continuously used by multiple people. And then it becomes the business's responsibility to maintain that product and repair that product, not yours as the consumer. Yeah. And then, yeah, I suppose, Kathy, you added your pushchair example in there. So
yeah,
like,
I was telling the story about the pushchair. So the pushchair in a circular model wouldn't go to the dump. It would go into a rental. And maybe you would rent your pushchair.
Which actually is a really great business idea for anyone in the room because kids
there you go.
Great. And then resell, we all know this one. It's like Facebook Marketplace, just reselling secondhand items. And so a lot of companies can actually do this by saying, bring back the item that you're no longer very fond of. We'll give you a discount on your next one and we'll resell it as a secondhand item. And so that's been taken up quite a lot within these businesses. And then this last one I'm actually quite passionate about because it's not usually measured in the circular economy, but upskilling is actually quite an important part of it. And so we have an example there, Plant the Seed from the program, who actually trains students in schools about the circular economy and has created a zero waste toolkit, which they train on. And so there's a lot of important things that can be done in actually just teaching others about the circular economy. And I think that is something that should be tracked.
Fabulous. So thanks, Isabel. I think let's bring it to life with our next guest. And I'm going to introduce you now to an award winner, a really dynamic woman, Natasha Pearce. And Natasha Pearce, we've asked to come to interview her, not just because she's award winning and she's doing amazing stuff, but because she's a business that has really taken up almost all of those models. And so, so Natasha, from the horse's mouth as it is, Natasha is going to tell us a little bit more about her business and why she's so passionate about circular economy and what it means to her. Welcome to you, Natasha.
Thanks so much, Catherine. Hi to everybody that's joined us. So I'm very passionate about circular economy, just purely from the point of view, I come 23 years out of the clothing and textile industry, which is the second highest pollutant in the world. So I saw a need for a change and I decided to be the disruptor, just purely based on the fact that we were getting rid of waste one day. And I was standing on our loading deck saying to our director, oh, like, where's it going? And he said, well, some goes to the sewing project and the others just goes to the landfill. And literally a light bulb moment, realizing the zip that I had bought a year ago, 2 years ago, the buttons from then was going to outlive me literally in a landfill. So once I had the opportunity to start my own business, I knew I would start it in the zero waste side of things and be the change.
That's so interesting because there's two parts to that story. 23 years in the clothing industry, which is almost completely died in South Africa. It's been replaced by real linear or the fast fashion, make it, wear it for 6 months and throw it in the dump. So it was really, I find it really interesting that you came from that personal experience of knowing what was possible, and you've actually recreated a business that is above that, is able to thrive, despite the fact that all of our work has been given to China. So maybe before we get into that, it sounds like you started the business because you were passionate. You saw an opportunity. You also had a belief that from a sustainability, from a planet perspective, that we were going in the wrong direction. But tell me, has your business been profitable? Has it been good for you from a profitability point of view to be circular?
Well, the thing is, because I use waste as my resource and my only resource, basically, you can upscale very, very much so, because your cost factor is much lower. And you literally start with what you have. I started with what I had, which was 500 Rand and a borrowed sewing machine at the time. And I've managed to turn it into something far greater than what my expectation was. So to be circular, it's literally looking around at what you have, what you can change, what you can use in your own business as a resource for yourself to generate income.
I mean, I think one of the things, thank you for that. I think that's really insightful. I mean, one of the things that I've seen about the circular economy is it differs from other business models. So traditionally, people keep their secrets to themselves. They don't share. They don't talk to each other. Everybody defends their territory. What I've seen in the circular economy is very different. This really is about the sharing economy, and that there are networks not only in South Africa but across the world. What is your experience of the kind of ecosystem? What has it meant for you to be able to tap into an ecosystem of circular businesses?
Okay, so because I was part of the CA Accelerator, that really opened my networking platform. and market access, because to be in a room and spaces where there are like-minded individuals and you can literally basically feed off each other. So what I possibly couldn't use in my business as waste, somebody else could use it. We could redirect it, and then creating a 360 basically circular approach to it. So it's very important to network and share the knowledge, because many heads together, actually it just makes it lighter for you, because somebody else can look at a piece of fabric, for instance, and say to me, oh, have you thought of making X from it instead of just what you make? So it's very important to share the knowledge.
Yeah, great. So again, you're not just saving the planet, and you're not just doing something that's really you're passionate about. But in the period of just this accelerator, the 18 months, my understanding that you created a lot more jobs. Can you just tell us a little bit about that? How good was your business for people?
Okay, so in terms of the people that I work with NGOs across South Africa, and from diverse backgrounds, from GBV background, from where there's a disability possibly, and we upskill them and teach them how to sew, how to sell their own product. So not have we only created generational wealth for my family, but for the people that work alongside us. So it's been very important to me that 70 families now can say they actually can put food on their table, and they derive a fair trade living wage from it. Not where they're second guessing, can they buy the loaf of bread? They can buy the loaf of bread and whatever else goes with it. So it's been very important for me from the socioeconomic aspect to give back.
Oh, Natasha, when you say generational wealth, my whole body starts to tingle. That's so music to my ears, because the reality is that when we create businesses, thriving businesses, we don't just change our own lives, but we change the lives of people, of the future as well. Not only our own family, as you say, but the lives of the people that we're employing and creating benefit for. So that's really exciting. And then the last thing, I'm not going to put you on the spot because I know you're modest, but I do know that you 10x your revenue just in the period of the program. And I think you have some exciting stuff that is still going on. Do you want to just give us a little insight? You got some really amazing deals happening. You're the woman of the moment. Everybody's wanting to do business with you. Yeah, just give us a little insight before we move on.
Okay, so I think I know partnering with the likes of Fetola has been monumental. Very strong name in the industry. I've got Nedbank backing me as well as Old Mutual. So I've got the green behind me, basically. And now, through the program, I have approached corporates, and now I have corporates on my side. So I've now got the likes of Pepcore, which I am so excited about that deal, because it's so monumental and such a big game changer because they're so huge. So we are able to create more jobs, sustain more families, and grow the eco business and basically spread the word.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Natasha. Congratulations. Thank you for that wonderful interview. Guys, Natasha's going to stay on until the end. She is here for Q&A. Any questions you want to ask, just hang on. We'll create question time at the end of the hour. So thank you, Natasha. That's so wonderful. Always wonderful speaking to you. So inspiring.
Thanks, Catherine. Thanks so much, guys.
Cool. So let's just go from here now. So we've heard a little bit about one person's success. Let's go a little bit deeper and have a look on the 46 businesses. What was the impact, the circular impact? Isabel, do you want to just take us through the slide and explain a little bit? Yeah.
Great. So I did realize when I made this slide that I used icons. So I'm just briefly going to say that the icons, I'll explain them a little bit and then go into that result. So our circular impact over the course of the program through design out waste, which is the first icon, we managed to decrease waste landfill by 16%. And 15% more components within those products were designed for reuse or composting, which means they're not going to sit on that landfill and, like Natasha says, throughout our lifetimes anymore. And 20% more use of non-virgin materials in production, which is waste as a resource. And so a great example is Plasticity in the Eastern Cape, who now uses plastic shopping bags to make her her designer bags. Essentially, they're really beautiful. And then 108% more products were rented out. So this is a great example of just product as a service model rather than just selling it once off. And 1,702 more products were repaired. So this is a great model to add into your business, even if you're, for example, a construction business and you add in maintenance. So yeah, this went up from 1,002 to 2,704 items repaired over the course of this program. And then 95% more people were upskilled in the circular economy over the course of the program, which I just think is an amazing result for the circular impact of this program. And we'll definitely dive deeper into these results in the report. So please keep your eyes peeled for that.
Great, thanks, Isabel. And so beyond just circular, so circular is a very specific way, the circular economy has a very specific way to measure their impact. But there was also a significant sustainable impact. And so sustainability sits more with the kind of recycling economy, which a lot of people in South Africa are very familiar with. So just very quickly run us through some of the sustainable impact as well, if you would.
So we didn't want to be too exclusive about our impact results because we feel that excluding sustainability impact just doesn't serve the greater purpose of this program. And there is infrastructure and there's things in place that really support our recycling economy. So it's still very valid and very important. So we managed to track this as well, and we got some amazing results. There's more renewable energy being created. And I saw in the chat, somebody was asking, is there space for biofuel production in the circular economy? Absolutely, there is, and in the sustainability segment. So 16 more solar panels were installed, and we know that our main solar panel lady in pursuit, she's just secured a major deal as well. So that's bound to go up. Biofuel production went up by 97%, and more biomass into energy went up by 33%. So 8,000 kilograms of biomass was used for energy. More water was reused within these businesses. This production went up by 36% to 12,205 kiloliters. More waste was recycled. And so this is a huge number. Earlier, I was reading the number and I thought, I'm going to do some weird things when I read this out loud, but it really did. The businesses managed to recycle 463,784 kilograms of waste, which is just amazing. 20% more product components were designed to be recycled. And so that's still an important thing because that waste would have just gone straight to landfill. And now it's at least living in the economy for a while.
So let's just put a context on that. So those of you that drive buckies, so most like a Toyota Hilux is a 1-ton bucky. So that basically means that's 463 bucky loads, just to put it into context. Okay, so it's just nice sometimes you put it in, in numbers that make sense. That's 463 bucky loads of waste that didn't go to the dump that actually got reintegrated back into the economy. Nice, thanks.
Absolutely. And then more regeneration. So this isn't actually something that we necessarily went out and promoted, but we mentioned it a few times, and 350 more trees were planted. And one of our agricultural businesses rehabilitated 6 hectares of land, which is really great. Yeah. More training in resource efficiency and waste management. So this is separate, obviously, from the circular economy training, and still very important that people understand exactly how to recycle and how to manage their waste correctly. So this went up from 406 people to 1,630 people trained in waste management and resource efficiency.
Awesome. Thanks, Isabel. And so I think we're just going to just show the slide. And that just really is that a lot of times corporates also want things measured in terms of SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. And so there are many indicators here that were targeted by this group. And part of the reason that we're showing these 3 different types of impact is because measurement of impact is one of the challenges that we did come across because of this complexity. So if you have somebody that is wanting to report on circular economy indicators, but There are also sustainable indicators. And then maybe a client says, I want you to report them in terms of SDGs, or another client might say, I want you to report them in terms of social return on investment. This just kind of gives a little bit of a snapshot of some of the challenges that can also be faced by small businesses. How do you measure? What do you measure? And how do you make it visible? Mm. But let's talk business results. It's not just about sustainability. And again, I think that what we're trying to pull out here for everybody is that it's not just let's be good for the planet, but first of all, you have to care for your own business, right? Because if your business isn't financially viable, there isn't a business. It doesn't matter how much you want to save the planet. So let's have a look at these business results, Isabel.
Great. So, of course, bearing in mind that we took this program on, like Kathy said, with profit in mind, with people in mind, and with planet in mind. So those 3 Ps were really crucial. And this cohort grew by 33% in their income growth and 2x their profit. So 2 times more profit than when they started the program. I think that it's really important to note that circular economy actually has a direct result, which is increased profitability, just as a result of being more efficient with your waste and more efficient with your time, etc.
And so basically what this means is that the businesses, so again, we're looking at an average over 46. So some businesses grew by like 4,000%, others grew just marginally, but on average, they increased their revenue by 33%. That means if they were doing 100 Rand a day at the beginning, they were doing 133 Rand at the end. But more importantly, they weren't just increasing the revenue, there was more money in their pocket at the end of the day because they doubled their profitability. And that result is really huge. But maybe there's something else that it's important just to give context, if you just want to run to that one, Isabel.
So this is where we really went like the rubber hits the road. We've really proved this concept that circular economy makes business sense. So the 33% income growth is double that of similar non-circular SMEs under acceleration. And so other SMEs being tracked doing their standard business practices are almost half of that income growth.
Yeah. So I think, so this was, thanks Isabel. So this is when we started to get really excited with these results. And of course, this is just a practical example. It's not a university research test. So we're not saying 100%. There's causality between people being circular and absolutely that's the reason. But we said here what was really interesting is at the same time and space with businesses that were almost identical around South Africa with the same spread across the economy, same spread of youth and women businesses in this exact same time period, the profitability or the revenue growth of businesses that were circular or had moved towards circularity was twice as good as it was for the businesses that didn't have any sustainability or circularity model. And so we believe that that's something that's really important and very exciting as a result.
Yes, and then just to touch on the people portion, there's a bit of a misconception that the more efficient you become in resources and all of those kinds of things, the more jobs get lost. But this cohort really just proved us wrong here and created 202 new jobs over the course of the program while still retaining 243 jobs. So 4.4 new jobs on average was created per business in this cohort.
Yeah.
And so I think that just proves that this model is for people, profit, and planet.
Yeah, I think it's incredibly exciting. And as I said in the beginning, in the context of South Africa, where we have these horrendous unemployment figures, any kind of business model that is profitable, is job creating, and on top of it is sustainable really is something that needs a real closer look. And that made us very excited to see these figures as well. So the question is, what does all this mean? So we've kind of given you some data and all of that. I think it's important just to say, I was asked this question, so what? So what? So what did we learn from this? What does it mean for you as an entrepreneur or you as an ecosystem player? And so really what we found is that, first of all, we understood from this is that small businesses can readily adopt new circularity models. At the beginning of the program, it's not that we went and selected 46 businesses that were already circular. We didn't select 46 businesses that were already perfect. there were businesses there that didn't have any circularity, or they maybe had a tiny component of it. And very easily over the 18 months, they increased the number of models that were more circular. Remember that graph that we showed you? So the orange was where they were in the beginning, and the blue was where they were in the end. And there was no pain. There was no pain, and there was often no additional expense. In fact, there was savings for people, for businesses taking on these circularity methods. The second thing is that by becoming circular, it opens up new markets and new product opportunities. As we said, there was the example where people previously were just selling a product, and now they said, oh no, let's sell it, but also to also repair it. In fact, so they added repair as a revenue generating model. And then they added rental as a third revenue generating model. And so by becoming circular, the business was able to differentiate itself from its competitors and add these new revenue streams. The third thing is that we've shown is where there were 11 business sectors in the Accelerator, and we've shown that circularity is possible to take up across this entire range of 11 sectors. Every single one of those businesses in all of those 11 sectors was able to add further circularity models. And so that's really huge. It's not for a few businesses or a few specialists. Circularity really is something that can be uptake virtually across every sector. And then the fourth part is to say that yes, revenue growth can be more than double. So by becoming circular, we've seen, we're not saying it's 100% guaranteed. We're not saying that it's a rigorous test. We're saying the practical experience that we've observed is that businesses, when they become circular, they have the chance to have more than double the revenue growth of like-for-like businesses at the same time. And that's huge. And then the fifth thing is that job creation at 4.4 new jobs per business is equal or better to most other business models as well. And so we're really seeing this incredible trio of profitability, good for the planet, and good for the people. And then the sixth part is what we're saying is that any entrepreneur, any business that grows faster is more profitable, more resilient, and can deliver measurable impact, very clearly represents a promising investment opportunity. And so we have already an increasing interest from impact investors saying, let's come along and work with your pipeline. And so in conclusion, what we really found here is that investment into circular economy presents a really exciting opportunity to increase entrepreneurial success, both to generate jobs and to build this sustainable, inclusive economy. And so if we just put it together, that for us was really what we're so excited about. And then so maybe the last question before I get into, there's a couple of things that are exciting at the end. But really things for me is that we have 75% of the people viewing are entrepreneurs. And so if you're an entrepreneur and this is kind of something like, whoa, okay, this sounds really interesting. For me, there's probably 4 things that you need to think about. The first thing is you, without any cost to you, you don't have to attend any courses for it. If you just start to think, how can I design out waste? So that's the first part. How can I reduce my waste? Even if it's about saying I'm in manufacturing. So how can I reorganize? Maybe I'm making leather goods. Maybe I'm making leather handbags. How can I reorganize the way that I cut my handbags, cut the leather so that I can eliminate the wastage? Or maybe how can I also then say, if I have the wastage, what else can I do with it instead of throwing it away? So the first thing is to say, how do I make designing out waste my absolute number one belief? The second thing is look to attend a circular economy training for SMEs. And we run them, other people run them, and you can also get some, if you look on the internet, there's people like Ellen MacArthur in the UK. She runs a really fantastic foundation specifically dedicated to circular economy. So just upskill a little bit, get to learn a little bit more. And then third, look to differentiate your business with market-ready products that are also sustainable. So we've given you a few ideas here, but really start to say, if I took on circularity, if I took on this as a new opportunity, how could I be different from everybody else? How could I really own a space? How could I find a niche where I owned it? I could be profitable. And then the last thing is, if you're going to become circular, really look out for ways that you can measure and report your impact. And then finally, if this is really interesting for you, we have a new circular economy program in the offing. Please do be sure to join the waitlist so that you're first to hear about the next opportunities that are coming along. And then if you're an impact investor, our real three things here. I think it's really important to work with specialists that have experience in building sustainable, investable small businesses. As I said, we know that one of the big problems in this sector is that there's lots of money to be invested, but not enough pipeline. So work with somebody, work with people that really can bring you the pipeline that you need. And then secondly, what we found is with all of our funders is they've understood that in order to build investable businesses at the end, they need to put into the building. So if you're an investor, look to say, how can you support the building of your own pipeline so that you've really got investable business opportunities at the end of it. And then the last thing is to look for impact measurement tools that work not only for you, but also for the entrepreneur. And if you're keen to learn about what Fetola does in helping social impact investors, we have an investment fund support team. Please just request a chat, pop us a mail. I did say there were things coming up soon. So just these last three things here. There's CO2 coming up. We're busy finalizing the details for that. So if you're an entrepreneur that would like to be on something, a program just like the one that Natasha was explaining, we've run through. If you're an investor wants to be part of building that pipeline, please just make contact. Flulu, which by the way means victory in Sesotho, so it's part of the family of Fetola, is also soon to be launched. That's going to be incredibly exciting because it is, as I said earlier, it's about bridging the gap between what funders need and what entrepreneurs are able to provide in order to close that gap and access the finance that you need to grow your business. So again, put up your hand there if that's something that you're looking for. And then the last thing is we do have some Fetola funds that we're managing for green finance. There's the Nedbank Green Grant Finance, which is very exciting, working with our partners Nedbank in order to put finance into growing small businesses. And then maybe lastly, just to close off and give us a little bit of time for questions. The question for me, it's like the transition to circularity is simple. We've shown it's simple. And it's also good for profit, people, and planet. So maybe you should be asking yourself the question, what are you waiting for? Please step forward, send us a mail if you're interested, be part of the ecosystem, and let's work together to make a better planet. Let's work together to make businesses that are good for you, good for the people around you, and good for the future of your children and your children's children. And so that's it from me. I want to thank you formally. Thank you formally for attending. And now what we'll do is we'll close and then take a few questions for those of you, if you have questions for me, for Isabel, or for Natasha. Thank you. Great, guys. Any Grin, go for it.
Thank you. And really good to see what you're doing and the results you're getting. The question I have, if we look at the overall ecosystem, if I can call it that, we have a very strong move on the back of climate change, on the back of sustainability, and everything that goes with it. And a big change, as you might remember, I come from a traceability space, I come from a market access space, I come from the data dimension. And we have a new wave of data that needs to be recorded. And the critical thing is that it needs to be recorded at ground level. So we are moving beyond our typical scope of value chain back to the point of production. We are also changing the top-down command and control attitude to ground level. I would like to propose one of the conflicts comes in between agricultural development and biodiversity impact. And I'm working with communities in Sonne Ent on looking ground up. I would like to introduce a gentleman who is chairman of the Southern Sector of the People and Parks Program. His name is Rupert Snyman, and he is very much taking the lead, but I would like to introduce him. Products include
thanks, Gwen.
and cannabis.
Thanks, Gwen. Thanks, Gwen. I'd appreciate that. I'd appreciate that contact. I mean, I do think that data is definitely, without data, you can't prove your results. So I think let's make contact again and let's find out ways that we can certainly do that, because I think the work that you're doing is great.
I will introduce him, and that's the scene.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Gwen. Wonderful. Great. And I did see a question in the chat there, Felipe. There was somebody. Yeah, Himka, why don't you jump on? You're also an amazing circular entrepreneur, and we're really great. Please turn on your camera and let's pop those questions straight away to Natasha. So I think that's really, I think that would be really useful. Are you there?
Hi, Catherine. So nice to see you again. Thanks.
Yeah, wonderful to see you. Welcome.
Natasha,
Natasha, meet Himka. If you haven't met already, you should do.
Okay, great.
Really honored to meet you, Natasha. I was just wondering, you mentioned you got some funding from Nedbank. Very big congratulations on that. How did you use the funding to grow your business?
Okay, so because we use waste as a resource, it's very minimal that we have to pay for our baseline material, basically. So what we did was we took the funding instead and we pumped it into things like getting our own printing press, our own vinyl printer, and that kind of thing. So basically to do a new offering. So that's what we used with the funding that we got from Nedbank, so that we can add to the range. Because what we create is we're literally creating the reusable alternative to your single-use item. So your reusable facial round, your reusable wet wipe, eco towels made from it, and it's made from actual cotton flannel. The flannel we get from large manufacturers that are making winter sheets, and we are taking their waste from them basically and turn.
Oh, we lost Natasha.
Have you got me?
No, you're back again.
Back again. Okay, so basically it's to just create and keep that 360 loop happening. So the funding goes into basically expanding our range of what our offering is. That's what we've used to grow the business.
Amazing. And was that new product range the seed for your revenue growing by 10 times?
No, it was just the sheer determination that I can do this and we will get into corporates. What I do is I'm very picky with who I work with, because I want to know what their carbon footprint is. That's why we don't sell to large retailers like your Take-A-Lots, Macro, and those kind of things, because they need to be able to show me what their carbon footprint is, what their whole green sustainability program is within their business. So I do a lot of consulting with them, and that is basically my loop to get into them, is to offer them the corporate gifting so that we then start a disruptive change within the business. So now we're highlighting already, okay, fine, this is the offering that we are now going to be introducing. And then we can then tackle as to what they've got on their product line, how we can streamline it. So that's basically how I grew the business, was incorporating corporates into the business offering.
Great. All the best. Hope you can have another growth.
Yeah, again,
thank you so much.
You should be connected. Thanks, Simka. Lovely, great question. Thanks, Natasha. So we have a question here from Ntlantla. I hope you're still there. Yeah, where is it now? Ntlantla, are you there? You had a nice question. Waste recycling is a huge phenomenon. What is the role of Fetola in helping entrepreneurs to visit other wastepreneurs in provinces for on-site observation and training? Are you still there? Do you want to give us a little bit of context around this? Why is this important to you? Well, maybe she jumped. Nhlanhla, Wilfred, are you there? All right. Okay. I think then, I think if there's any hands up for a last few questions, otherwise I'm going to call the session to a close. So yeah, so thank you so much. I hope that was useful for all of you. I hope that's been useful for you as entrepreneurs. As an entrepreneur myself, I find these results incredibly. Nhlanhla there. Okay, let me stop my spiel and go for you. Go to you. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Yes. I want to find out. I am based in Polokwane, and I have realized that part of combating the high rising of waste that is filling up the landfills is because of the building rubbles and stuff. So here in Limpopo, there is no company that is currently recycling the building rubble, but both Durban and Cape Town have facilities which are recycling the building rubble. So I wanted to find out what is the role of Fetola in maybe, holding my hand and, facilitating the process for me to be able to visit the already established companies so that I can see, observe, and maybe get trained so that I can bring that to come and work in our landfills this side in the province.
Great, thanks, Nhlanhla. Isabel, are you still on? Would you like to help out with some comments here?
Great. So, of course, Natasha, you can join one of our Accelerator programs. That's probably the best space in which to get the correct support. Our core focus at Fetola is business skills development. That's our sweet spot through the business growth model. But we do have consultants and a team on staff that we can call on that can provide guidance and support in waste management and recycling. We actually do know people at those sites in the Western Cape. And so if you are on the program and you've already started your business, we work with businesses that are in early phase, growth phase already. Then we are more than happy to support you with that and link you up with the right people.
Great, thank you for that. And then I see also there's one from Franz Bacani, who's in chicken and in layers and egg production, and wanting to use use the waste. And Isabel, you had an example in the Accelerator that you might want to share.
The guano, the chicken waste.
Yes. Maybe just speak through that little example there for Franz.
So originally, when this business joined the program, she had a poultry kind of setup and hadn't set up any other agricultural elements within her business. And so she really wanted to use her guano for something useful. So she decided to get some seeds and use the guano as her own kind of manure on that property. She started growing her own vegetables and expanded her business into that. And any of the waste, etc., was then resold into other businesses as feed for pigs and that kind of thing. And so that really falls into that regenerative agriculture kind of side of circular economy. Right. And that was quite exciting.
Super, thanks, Isabel. I'm going to go quickly. We're actually out of time, but I'm going to go to Sibongile and then Hebron, and then I think we're done. Sibongile, go for it.
Thank you very much, Catherine, and thank you for catching up with you today. I'm working at a regional level, so I would like to know, okay, first of all, we have a circular economy strategy that we've developed, but implementation, of course, has to happen at the member state level. Now, I want to know if there are opportunities for transboundary of some sort. For instance, if you look at marine litter, you can't control it from one space. It cuts across different countries. So there is a need for a transboundary approach. Yes. Also, the example that Nhlanhla is given on building rubble, if there are places that are close to each other across the borders that have facilities, can't that facility be shared by the other country as well, by transferring either the end product or the resource or the material to the one that has, so that it could be utilized in a better way? So I'm just thinking in a broader, more strategic perspective on cross-boundary management of resources. Thank you.
That's such a great, thank you. That's such a great point. Such a great question. As I said earlier, I'm from Zambia, so I'm definitely I'm all for porous borders, right? I think that we would have to look quite carefully at the laws, because one of the dangers with waste is we do know these international examples where, for example, waste from the fashion industry is getting dumped in vast quantities into West and East Africa. It's a huge problem. And so I would imagine there's some laws between the two countries, but I think it's a great idea to investigate. And please do make contact. Do send me an email and let's have another further chat about it. Thank you so much. Lovely insights, lovely thought there. And then lastly, let's go to Hebron. Hebron Maponya. Are you able to turn on your mic, Hebron? Okay, unfortunately, we're not able to hear you, Hebron. Okay, so I think we're going to call it a close.
Catherine.
There we go. Yes, go for it.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
My sincere apologies.
No problem.
Okay, my name is Hebron. So I run a company called Rapala Clean Services. So we provide well-being cleaning services, within the circular economy sector, pertaining to waste. So my question really to everybody who's present here is, are you open to well-being cleaning services for waste within your businesses?
Yes.
Yeah, that's my question.
Yes. Are you doing a marketing spiel on us here?
You can say.
Yeah, there you go. Well done. Full marks for that. Full marks for that. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, I think the answer is yes. So I think, everybody's probably exactly the right point there. So the thing is, as we've said, and I'll just repeat it, what is so incredible about the circular economy is this sense of people actually working together to solve problems, not only their own problems, but problems bigger than themselves. And so I think, come on into the circular economy, come on in, join our wait list, join on and be part of our ecosystem. And let's find ways not only to help your business thrive, but through that, help other people around you, not only to build profitable businesses that are good for people, and of course, good for the planet. Thanks so much for that last point, everyone. Really appreciate it. All right, that's it, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you again next time.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.